was a pretty big intro. Thanks, Rob. I'm here today to talk to you about a really exciting concept, something that we've been working on for years at Outspoken Media, something that has kept me up as late as needing to battle people wrong on the internet and fight trademarks. And back in 2007, Steve Jobs released the iPhone. It was one of the best presentations that we'd ever seen in the world. He held everyone, and he was so excited. And he held them because he'd worked so hard on this amazing piece of technology that has changed the world. I don't have an iPhone, and I wish I did. I wish I had an iPhone with an ear jack to give you, but I don't. But what I do have is an idea that I think is going to change all of us for the better, because I've been struggling for a really long time. I've been struggling as a business owner and as a marketer when I worked in-house and when I worked with our clients. We've worked with some amazing clients, and we've done great things. But it always felt like we were missing something because we'd only get the results to a certain point. We'd build X number of links, we'd get the rankings, we'd get the traffic, but eventually we'd lose the client. Why did we lose them? Well, there are a number of factors, but a lot of them came down to something that was a little beyond us, beyond our capabilities as an agency to even understand and be a part of, because we weren't in leadership discussions, and we fundamentally had a disconnect between brand and what I eventually identified as reputation. Reputation management for a long time has been considered a negative. Something horrible happens, you need to go rush and fix it. It feels a little scammy, like how do I displace my results? I slept with the wrong person, and I embezzled company funds. Help me fix this. That's not exciting. I don't actually want to do that. I don't want to work with you on that. What I want to work on is how to make great brands with great reputations and people that just rabidly love you. And when you have that, everything gets easier. Those links work. The traffic that you're driving converts. They don't just convert, they become loyal customers for a really long time. And I'm here to talk to you about it because a lot of us suck right now. I saw this study come out a week ago. 7% of employees said that they thought their agency was exceeding their clients' expectations. 7% of us. That's it. I've certainly got some accounts where I think we're doing a good job. I don't know if we're doing a great job. But is it our fault? We might be doing the work, but again, there's a disconnect. Something's not happening. And that's why we have reputation marketing. So you are here right now for the first time ever getting introduced to what I consider to be a new discipline. Because I don't want to talk about reputation management anymore. I'm done and I'm tired. I want to talk about reputation marketing. I think it's exciting and fun, and at the end of this, I hope that a certain number of you actually become reputation marketers. Just like content strategists, we need someone that is internally within your organization who holds on to the single most critical, intangible asset that drives everything for your success. Reputation marketing is not reviews management. So if anyone has a Wikipedia account, please go on there and fix it. It basically says it's managing your Yelp reviews. It's a really, really trivial explanation. What it is what happens when you consistently exceed the expectations of your stakeholders. Stakeholders, kind of a big word. Usually you think about publicly traded companies and shareholders. If you're on the corporate communications team, you're talking to media, government. We've got, of course, your employees, often the most forgotten and most important stakeholder in your organization. So the actual definition is the action or business of cultivating and promoting a positive reputation. Go edit Wikipedia, please. How many of you are familiar with these brands? Some will, some won't. So who's on the right? Wait, right. That's an Hermes bag. That's a Birkin bag, I believe. On the left is Coach. They're both luxury bags. So we've got Coach and we've got Hermes. They're very, very similar looking. In fact, their logos look almost identical. I'm pretty sure Coach stole Hermes. The Hermes, or the Coach bag, costs $300. That's a lot of money for a bag. I mean, I don't know about you. But for me, I don't spend $300 on hardly anything. Maybe I'm cheap. I'm probably a little cheap. I think the shoes were expensive. The other bag, yep, costs as much as your house. I'm definitely too cheap for that. It's not gonna happen. I can't sleep in it. It's not gonna feed me. But why? Who's gonna spend $150,000 on a bag? And why? Is it a magical bag? Is it gonna last 50 to 300 times longer than the Coach bag? Is it like in Harry Potter, it like contains lots of stuff and you can pull anything you want out of it? It's not magical. It's not made by leather that's gonna last 50 to 300 times longer, but they're able to charge that much because of exclusivity, because they control the market, because it's in demand, they're super ultra, but ultimately it comes down to the brand equity, and the reputation that they've actively built over time. There was one study that came out, it's a little bit biased, it was created by baghunter.com, but it actually showed that Hermes bags are possibly a better investment than stock market or gold. That means you can't actually use the bag, kind of like when you collect your little figures or comic books. I have an entire box of comic books. My son is not allowed to touch them. Decreases the value. So you can't use your bag. You just have to collect it, keep it, and hope that the market doesn't change, kind of like the tulip bubble. Let's hope that everybody keeps Birkin bags really expensive. But why? Because they're very, very reputable. They often top some of the most reputable companies' list. They've been around for over 200 years. They're pretty recession-proof. That's what happens when you're an ultra-luxury brand. And what I love is that what they started in is what they continue to produce. They didn't stop and just innovate and leave what they were doing behind. When they created Hermes, they started in harnesses, and eventually they expanded into saddlery and saddlery bags, and then eventually women's handbags. And they didn't leave any of those, that you can still get your bridle and your saddle. They're good at what they do, and they keep doing it. I don't want to bash Coach. Coach is a great company. They've been around for a while, too. They've been around for many, many years. I'm bad at math. Many. So again, I'm a little bit bad at math, but when I look at this math, there's a really significant difference here. And it's kind of interesting. So the amount of sales for Hermes is only about $1 billion more. Their employees are a lot less. But look at the market capitalization on that. How do they get 3 times more in value with less employees and just a little bit more in sales? Again, that's reputation. So what makes up a great reputation? We have to go back and talk about what reputation is. It's an expectation of future behavior based on past experience. And there are a couple things that it's not. It's not an impression. And I think that's really important to understand because we confuse them. And I hear everyone talk about brand and how you have to have a great brand and people are going to love your brand. No, they're going to love you and that reputation. It's not that I love the logo or the image. They love you and what you do. We have to talk about expectations. I think that Net Promoter Score is a little bit flawed. When we look at Net Promoter Score, it's on a scale of 1 to 10. And you ask, how likely are you to recommend this to a friend? Well, I think that's kind of rooted in the fact of, did we meet your expectations enough? And if you say 9 to 10, the expectation is that, yes, the expectation I had, you met. Nobody goes into an establishment expecting to not have their expectation met. And so here's this great score that tells you whether or not you're really bad at what you do. But what it doesn't have is tells you when you're really, really amazing at what you do. Because it's not just about recommending, about being surprised. Great reputations are going through consistency. Now I'm talking about great reputations, and we're going to talk about what that secret ingredient is, but it's important to emphasize consistency. If you don't have consistency down, you have a lot of work to do. We struggle with that at Outspoken Media often. I'm not good at it. I like to be strategic, I like to hop in, I like to work at late hours. It doesn't really lend itself well to process and documentation and education. So we're trying to improve. But there's nothing more important than working on that. Having a nice, consistent product or service, making sure that everyone in your organization is trained up. Then after that, it's the dedication to your mission. Do you actually know what you're doing and why you're doing it? And does everybody else? And if everybody can't communicate that, you've lost something. And then once you've got those 2 things covered, the most important part, it's the element of surprise. It's that feeling of just unbridled excitement and joy that all of your stakeholders get at certain parts. of their experience with you. There's an interesting statistic that says that surprised consumers by negative news are twice as likely to stop buying the product as they are to continue buying it. What happens if we're surprised in a positive way? There's no statistic on that. Let's try to track it. So what happens if we actively cultivate and promote a positive reputation? You can introduce it in many different areas of your organization. Every area of your organization can have surprise and consistency and dedication to mission and values. Values, I'm going to throw this out there. Not every organization has to live according to a set of values. Some might disagree, but there are a lot of organizations that really don't have great values and they're still successful, but they have a great mission. So you need a mission, and I think that in today's world, values are becoming more important. 7 in 10 consumers say that they frequently or regularly discuss how they feel about a product they bought. And I'm going to talk about a product that I bought recently. It's not sexy, it's cleaning products. But I fell in love with it because I have a 3-year-old and I have a 7-month-old, and they absolutely run around the floor. They lick things that they're not supposed to lick. It's a little bit terrifying. And we've got the little safety latch on the cupboard, but it doesn't matter because my son just walked over and went, bloop. I'm in the cleaning products. So what Better Life did, some of you might have seen them on Shark Tank, is they didn't just create a sustainable green cleaning product, they created something that was safe. You can actually take the product, squirt it in your mouth, and swallow it. It's disgusting, but it's safe and you can do that. And it actually smells really good, so I've never enjoyed mopping, but I'm sniffing the floor. And what I loved about their bottles is when you're in the aisle and you look at the little recycle me, they didn't just put recycle me on their packaging. They put something cool and exciting and different. I want to come back as a surfboard. Next bottle, I want to come back as a kaleidoscope. Every single bottle has something different, and I found myself in the Target aisle looking at every single bottle. When did you do that? Last with cleaning products. I actually hate the cleaning product aisle. It's overwhelming with smells. It's just get me out of here as quickly as possible so that I can go look at things I don't need. But I loved it, and I'm here talking to you about it because it was so surprising and awesome. As a society, we care about reputation. We care about the products and services that we purchase, at least most of us. Gen Z really cares about it. Who's Gen Z? That would be my sister, my brother. That's kind of that range of my son at 3 up to about 16. Gen Z matters a lot. They're the first generation that's literally come up in technology and internet. They have no other experience but that. They're so smart. My son knew how to use an iPhone by the time he was 4 months old. What matters to them is not just the brand experience, but they have to respect the brand. And what does that get into? That gets into reputation. It's not just about the brand, it's about your reputation. So let's be really clear about what this means, brand versus reputation. Brands create impressions that make you think or feel something. But reputation is about experience. What happened when you had that experience, positive or negative, or everything in between. And brand recognition does not mean engagement. And I see so many dollars going into brand awareness, and then nobody actually cares about what happens after that point. So when we map it on this nice little matrix, brand matters or brand doesn't matter. Reputation matters less, reputation matters a lot. What it ends up looking like is this. Sometimes brand matters a lot, reputation matters less. Doesn't mean you're not successful. I might have had one logo up there. I realized that in today's political climate, I had to be fair, so I put both up there. I'm not going to tell you which one. Okay, sometimes you have reputation that matters less and brand matters less. What does this look like? A lot of regulated type of industries. We work with a really large energy provider. When you are working with a certain utility in a regulated industry, you don't have any other choice. This tends to be the giant monopolies that we see, and then we get really angry, and every single one of these logos is notorious for having just awful reputations. But they're still massive and have tons of money. Then there are those where brand matters less. We might not actually see their brand. There's not a lot of marketing that happens, but we love them. PBR, famous for guerrilla marketing. Amazing how they brought that brand into being cool. Wegmans, that's a grocery store. Who likes Wegmans? I don't know Wegmans. I've never actually shopped at one, but I hear about it all the time because people won't stop complaining about how we don't have a Wegmans. Trader Joe's, I found out about $5 wine. That's apparently pretty good. So when a Trader Joe's showed up, I was so excited, except you can't buy wine in a Trader Joe's in the state of New York, which is really sad. Dr. Bronner's, there's another cleaning product. Then there are those that invest a lot in their branding and their marketing, and they also have great reputations. Southwest, one of our team members flew here, and she was so excited. She'd never flown Southwest before, and yesterday she tweeted, so stoked, just had the best experience, love Southwest now. Starbucks, I realize we're in Seattle, and so that doesn't play very well maybe. But in New York, my options are Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks. One feels like an exclusive luxury-like experience. The other consistently forgets what I ordered and gives me a chai latte when I ordered iced tea. Disney and Amazon. Amazon's an interesting one because they actually had a massive reputation hit, right? Like we saw that news article go out about their employees. And that has to hurt when it comes to trying to hire, acquire, retain great talent. But it doesn't stop them from still topping some of the most reputable lists out there. Consensus, Reputation Institute, Forbes, there's some great lists that you can see, and Amazon is always at the top. So here's a nice picture, everything mapped. Where do you fall on this? How do you actually measure it? This is what I want you to leave with. The financial perspective is important because reputation is not new. Reputation has been around for decades and decades and decades, and it has had nothing to do with anyone in this room because it's coming from the CFO. It's coming from stock. It's coming from shareholders. When we look at those KPIs, they're tracking brand equity. And that's really important to understand. Price premiums, like Hermes, market capitalization, stock price, profit, and they are risk managers. And one of the biggest impacts to risk is your reputation. They get it, and they want to know how to measure it, but it's really hard. But they've kind of invented some formulas that help them. When we look at marketing, we have brand voice, traffic, sales, revenue. And these are great, but they're not as important as the things on the left. Yeah, left. So here's one of the formulas that someone came up with. You can look at your market value minus your tangible assets. That becomes your reputation. When I did the math on Apple, that meant that their reputation account was like $450 billion. That seems a little high. Another way to look at it is what happens when disaster strikes. And I think it was Exxon, and when that disaster occurred, they lost between 3.5% and 7%. So you could basically kind of say maybe based on that, reputation is about 3.5% to 7%. I think it depends entirely on the situation, how bad it was, and a bunch of other factors. That's why it's intangible. But there are 3 ways that you can get started. You can create your own score. And this is really fun for all the data heads in the audience. We are going back to reviews. I said it's not reviews management, but you can use those review sites to help you. You can go and start aggregating those data points. If you're a small company, you might not have all of these, but if you're larger, you do. I don't want you to jot all these down. I want you to think. I want you to think about your organization and what's available to you and what you have. That might be the Net Promoter Score. If you don't have it, you might want to start collecting it. You might be looking at the number of closed tickets. You might be looking at the amount of customer reviews. You can look at your CEO approval rating, which is really important because the CEO's reputation accounts for 50% of the 60% of that intangible asset that makes up the value of your company. That's important. You can look at cost per acquisition, retention rate, and you pull all of this together, and then you can give yourself maybe a grade. 67% here in the United States, that would give us a D. This is our client. They have a D. Their shareholders are really happy. Their employees are a little bit more happy. Their customers and community kind of hate them. We already mentioned that they're in a regulated industry. It's not that exciting. But then you can start tracking everything by sentiment and type. You might be using some tools that allow you to track sentiment that are enterprise-wide, but I don't want you to stop there. It's really important to look at sentiment because you can see when your efforts are working. So this is one of our clients that came on, and you can see that they had a lot of negative comments. We started hitting them with content and content marketing and SEO and all this stuff that was really for a certain purpose, but when we tracked sentiment, we saw that even though we were measuring these metrics over here, it actually improved over here because the content was engaging and fun, and so it was increasing the amount of positive comments that were being left. And you know what mattered more to the leadership team? not the number of impressions. They want to know what people think and feel about them, especially if you're publicly traded. We also looked at it by type, so you can track the amount of happy, unhappy, trolls, needs. When you have that, don't just stop there, create a system for feedback. So here's an example. In Q2, we had 28% of our comments that came from this. A whole lot of people that were very confused because we just released a blog post and an email to the entire community, hundreds of thousands of people, I think millions, that said, hey, we have this really cool, exciting thing, please go sign up. And all the comments said, I'd love to sign up, where do I sign up? Because the application button is buried and you don't see it. And we thought, well, what do? Okay, we can make the button more prominent, but we actually missed the window on that because nobody organizationally on their side was even tracking comments. So what we said is, well, I know that you want to get into more content marketing and exciting things like video content, so let's make a video. Let's walk them through the entire process, and we're not going to stop there. We're going to surprise them by reaching out to every single person individually and saying, hi, I am so sorry. I know it was hard for you to apply last time, but we love that you want to apply. We created this video. Here's where it's at. And it took a little bit of effort, but not that much. And we posted that, and people are stoked. Here's another example, Geico. How much would the dev team love to know that their app is so cool and so helpful that someone stopped in the middle of buying a car to leave a review? She thought that the app was so helpful that she literally is in the middle of it. She got everything she needed in 2 minutes of just sitting there waiting for like a loan officer or someone to come over, and left this huge gushing review. Allstate's does not look that good, I can tell you that. Sorry if you're here. It's a 4-star rating, it's not bad, but they said it looks too much like their website, it's not a unique, personalized experience. Oh, the other thing, my husband needed insurance recently, called Geico, they answered the phone and said, hi, Brad. What? How did you know who I was? Surprise. You can improve employee happiness and retention when you share good feedback, and then that gets them excited, and then they do something incredible, which is the secret to growing your business. They get excited and want to do more, and they want to innovate, and the only way to drive exponential growth is through innovation and the introduction of new subgroups. Getting back to what else you can do, audit your about page and content for your mission and values. We had one client who came to us, said, oh, I want some content, and I want SEO. Cool, okay. We looked at their mission. I always start with mission. Simple exercise takes about 30 minutes. Their tagline said that they want to create content written by people, their demographic, for other people in that demographic. They wanted to be an online magazine for that demographic, and they wanted content about healthy living, not just living longer. They were totally an online magazine. They were not writing content to the second point. And they definitely weren't writing content that was written by their demographic for the other demographic. And they had so many editors and so many writers, dozens, and they're trying to manage this whole thing, but they'd forgotten their mission. We showed up with them, and the first month, did the audit, delivered it, focused on the mission, immediately killed it with content that reduced their spend on paid social, went through the roof, achieved their goal, gained their trust. Then they said, okay, great, do I need to lay off half my editorial team? Yep. They didn't actually lay them off. They were like contract writers. They actually weren't getting paid anything. Sad. Pay your people. They care more. So they restructured. And now at this point, they've actually hired an entire team. They know what they're doing. They're excited. And they came to us because they said, we don't even know if we have a real business model. Can you help us? Like, we will totally close this down. It's a hobby site. But let us know. And they do have a business model. So chart your reputation, because what you think might be growth that's stagnant might actually just be the fact that you are not living according to your mission and values, you are not exceeding stakeholder expectations, and you may not be failing, but you're probably just somewhere in that middle, like the vast majority of the world. We show up, we do our jobs, we slog through it. But are we making a difference? When you fail, everything is harder, everything is more expensive, it takes more time, you have more legislative review, so many horrible things happen, and it feels like crap. And when you exceed, this is the fun part, this is reputation marketing. When you exceed expectations, or just meet them even, some industries, that's all you have to do. When I call Time Warner Cable, please answer the phone, but you're never gonna answer the phone because you're Time Warner Cable. So when you exceed someone's expectation, you suddenly find that people want to pay more money, they want to be around longer, they want to be a loyal customer, and then they start talking about you. So here's a very quick example. Envision app is wonderful. They're awesome, they're so cool. We weren't sure if we should sign up for them, so Leo, our creative specialist, got on there and talked to someone and said, I'm not sure about this, I think it's what we need. And after that call, they said, what's your address? And he thought he was going to get maybe a postcard or something. So they sent him this whole care package filled with awesome things. And if you're a designer and someone sends you this, you're going to be stoked because it's beautiful. You might actually want to tattoo it on your body. He was so happy, he's running around the office, look what they sent me. And it didn't take much. And then he tweeted about it, and he took pictures on our professional whiteboard. And now I'm here on stage talking to you about it because they sent it in something surprising, something beautiful, something that took a little bit of money, but made the difference, and it allowed them to market their brand simply by having a great reputation. All of that came in it. So you should be optimizing for reputation, because when you optimize for reputation, you get more links because people give them out freely. You get more mentions because people spread it around. So how do you actually start? You can start with the data that you have access to. Now I'm going to pick on someone, but I'm be kind. I'm going to pick on myself, Outspoken Media, and I'm also going to pick on Distilled, and they can handle it, right, Rob? Yes. And I'm going to pick on Sear, also Razorfish, if you're in the room. 3 great agencies, if I say so myself. We're small, we're not like them, and they're not like Razorfish, but those guys are my aspirational competitors, and I want to know how we were doing. I found out that we were doing pretty awesome on certain things. So I looked at SpyFu data, pulled it, looked at our homepage and all of our transactional pages, and said, how are we performing for those keywords? The keywords that I think matter most, because they're our homepage. Ripped out all the branded stuff. We're doing pretty well. So then I decided to look at over time. We revised one of our service pages. They're not even good service pages. They don't even speak very well to what we do. But we revised one, and in 2 months, that happened. We're awesome. Except we're not on the same level, so there's something missing here, right? If I just look at that data and just that role and that context of SEO, totally not the right story to tell. So I went higher, and I looked at it in context. And when I looked at the full site, not just the transactional pages, Distilled's killing us. And suddenly Sear jumps up. It's because we haven't invested anything into our informational content. We haven't invested in our events or resources. And what does that mean? It means we haven't invested in our community. And that's important because that's our reputation, and you guys are our stakeholders, one of them. So I went even higher, and at this point I said, what does it look like when we bring in the branded keywords? It looks like that. We look like crap now. Nobody knows us. Our numbers didn't change at all. Sear just doubled. Razorfish showed up out of nowhere. And Distilled is killing all of us again. Again, you're doing a good job. I didn't really pick on you. We don't have a visible brand. And you know what? Razorfish doesn't care. Because they're up here at the second most leading innovative digital agency in the world. So we said we've got a lot of work to do. We're 7 people in Troy, New York. How do we make this better? We're pretty good at this SEO thing. That's cool. But what do we have to do? We have to get our mission out there. More importantly, we have to invest in our team. We have to train our team. We have to improve our culture. We have to be happier. That little bell, Leo, anytime something happy happens, hits the bell. And we did that, and guess what happened? Our clients wanted to pay us more money. All of our accounts got bigger. We got more excited about the work. We got ahead of cash flow. We started holding events. Everyone on the team was fired up and ready. We finished the office. And that didn't just have to happen because we saw that data, but the data kind of kicked it into gear. It's important to note that reputation management, we usually think about it as a singular event. It's not a singular event. It's something that happens over time because we forgot to pay attention. He lost $6.2 million in one stupid night. That's reputation management. I don't know how you quite manage that. It's going to be expensive, it's going to take time, it's going to take years to recover. But I want to talk about the exciting part, which is when you have reputational loss because you forget to do basic things. Like, here's Peck's Arcade. It's a local restaurant. I love them. They're the most expensive restaurant in town. I don't care. I will give them my money all day long because the experience is worth it. Why? They understand what they do. They create great food and great experiences. And they document that. They don't just document that, they coach their entire team. I know they coach their team because they take pictures of them coaching their team and put them on Instagram. They let them know what to do and how to do it, and that looks like living according to their mission and values. So when I call to make a reservation, the first thing they say is, are you celebrating something tonight? No, I'm not celebrating. Okay. But then I actually showed up for my reservation, and they immediately said, well, what brings you out tonight? You don't have to be celebrating, just why are you here? I just had a baby. I was happy to just get out of the house. I think I'd showered, bonus. And 45 minutes into dinner, I get a call, baby's crying, screaming, you gotta come home right now. No. But the exciting part was they made everything special for us. They gave us champagne 2 minutes once we were in the door because she knew that we were there for the baby because we're trying to escape the baby. And when we tried to run out, we scarfed our food down, and they showed up with this little care package filled with cookies because we didn't have time for dessert. There were a lot more cookies, but I ate them. And the thing that's important here is that they're not special. I'm not special. Like, they do this for everybody. And then what ends up happening is that people tweet about it. And then they get free content marketing because their community is doing it for them by posting gorgeous pictures of their establishment. And it shows in all of their reviews. And they're able to charge a premium. You can do it too. How do you do it? By being reputation marketers. And every single one of you is a reputation marketer. You work on behalf of your clients, you work on behalf of your business, you work on behalf of everyone in the company every single day to establish a great reputation and enhance that brand. Corporate reputation, I already said, accounts for 60% of the company's value. So this is why we need this. We need to have reputation strategy and reputation marketers, just like we now have content marketing and content strategy. That is what we need as an industry to be successful, because I'm tired of building links that go absolutely nowhere and do nothing for you. I want to introduce surprise. You have to be careful. You can't just introduce surprise to everybody, because then you set the bar way high and you're never going to achieve that. You have to do it in a consistent, good way. So I want to know if I have any friends in this room. I want to know if any of you care enough about this subject that you want to keep it going, that you want to be involved, that you want to help us create fun deliverables and expectations and define what this discipline looks like. I also want to start speaking locally, like in your neighborhood. So in 2017, we're going to be going all around the country talking to companies, organizations, agencies. So if you'd like to host us and be a part of this, I want to know who you are. Please reach out to me. If you're just someone that's really excited because you need this in your company, reach out to me. I'm not going to sell you on something. I just want to say hello because I'm so excited about it. And if you're ready, we published this guide an hour ago, and I think it's working. So go to outspokenmedia.com/reputation marketing. We're going to release a chapter. I'm not going to hold ourselves to a time frame, but we've got 5 chapters, and they're all going to come out in a phased approach. Let's say one a week, but maybe one a month. Don't hold me to it. There's a quiz on there that you can take to identify where you stand on that reputation chart. And again, we're going to have a lot of fun events and things happening. So that is everything from me, and thank you so much.
Rhea, thank you so much.
We don't have time.
We don't have time for Q&A.
I know.
But you're going to be around for the next few days, right?
I hope so.
Excellent.
I'm here.
Well, we know where to mob you and ask you all the questions we want to.
Sounds good.
So, Rhea Drysdale, thank you very much.